Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsav Parekh and I'll take you through the top 50 stories of the day. We begin with news from the Israel-Hamas war. Israel suffered its heaviest combat losses in more than a month yesterday. This was after an ambush during a fight in the ruins of Gaza. The official toll hasn't been made public yet, but Israel's military spokesperson said that he felt heavy about the military losses. However, he added that casualties are expected as fighting intensifies in the region. Israel has warned Lebanon-based Hezbollah to stay away from their shared border if it does not want to see Lebanon in ruins. An Israeli lawmaker has said that Israel is seeking to use diplomatic channels to push Hezbollah away from the border. However, an official close to Hezbollah has reportedly said that the idea was quote-unquote unrealistic. While battling Hamas in Gaza, Israel has also been trading fire with Hezbollah since October. The Jabalia refugee camp in the northeast of Gaza City has been hit by flooding. This was after the enclave faced heavy rain and strong winds. People living in the camp said that it had completely drowned. A man was seen wading through thigh-deep floodwaters carrying the body of a child. The rainy weather has worsened the conditions of the already dilapidated Gaza Strip. Israeli forces reportedly demolished a building housing 30 people in East Jerusalem yesterday. The report added that this was because the building had allegedly been erected without appropriate permits. However, rights groups say such permits are nearly impossible to obtain. Palestinians have long said that demolition orders were Israel's effort to forcibly remove them from the city. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will visit Israel on Thursday and Friday. Sullivan plans to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His visit comes as the U.S. is pressuring Israel to dial back on its indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. Sullivan will likely make other stops in the region during his trip. However, it is not clear which other countries he will visit. Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters shut down a major freeway in the U.S. city of Los Angeles yesterday. They called for a ceasefire in Gaza. The protesters sat down and formed a human chain, shutting down the freeway for about an hour. In other news, the Indian police have arrested 5 suspects after a security breach at the lower house of parliament or Lok Sabha. Charges under India's stringent Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA have been invoked against the suspects. Yesterday, 2 of the suspects dived inside the Lok Sabha from the visitors gallery during the session and set off canisters with yellow smoke, causing a commotion in the house. Japan's chief cabinet secretary has announced his resignation. Hirokazu Matsuno has said that has sent his resignation letter to Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Other ministers, including the Industry Minister, Agriculture Minister and Internal Affairs Minister, have also resigned. This comes after Kishida said he was finalizing his 3rd cabinet shake-up in 16 months. Kishida's decision to overhaul the cabinet came over a fundraising scandal within Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Britain, Japan and Italy have signed an international treaty. This is to establish a combat air program aimed at developing an advanced fighter jet. The joint development phase of the program will launch in 2025. The combat aircraft is expected to take flight by 2035. China has condemned Canada's support for the Philippines, saying this support violates China's sovereignty in the South China Sea. Beijing has said, and I quote, "The South China Sea should not become a hunting ground for Canada, the United States and other countries." Over the past few months, China and the Philippines have had several confrontations, that is over the second Thomas Shoal, an atoll in the South China Sea. Manila has accused China of repeatedly firing water cannons at its boats and deliberately ramming a vessel. Azerbaijan and Armenia traded prisoners of war at their border yesterday. This marks a step towards the normalization of a decades-old conflict between the two countries. Azerbaijan set 32 Armenians free, while Armenia handed back 2 soldiers they've held since April. Reports say the countries are also discussing withdrawing troops from the shared border. However, no concrete decision about the withdrawal has been taken so far. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban had no reason to block Ukraine's EU membership. Most of the European Union members want to open talks on Ukraine's accession and arrange for billions of euros for Kyiv's support. However, Hungary has blocked both moves, saying they do not serve Budapest's interests. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. The chamber voted 221 to 212 to approve the probe. The investigation will examine whether President Joe Biden improperly benefited from his son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. This came hours after Hunter Biden refused a call from the U.S. Congress to testify. In climate news, the 28th session of the UN Climate Summit, or the COP28, concluded in Dubai on Wednesday. The parties reached a final consensus on an allegedly historic climate deal. COP28 President Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber put forward the agreement, which hopes to address climate adaptation and finance and deal with fossil fuel use. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres emphasized the necessity of a phase-out of fossil fuels to address climate change. He acknowledged the inevitability of a fossil fuel phase-out. Guterres urged timely action to avert a climate catastrophe and expressed that the hope that it wouldn't be too late. Climate scientists, however, have expressed their reservations about the limited ambition of the UN climate deal. Critics argue that the agreement falls short of addressing the urgency of climate change and specific actions required to prevent it. One climatologist criticized the vagueness of the fossil fuel statement, saying it lacks clear, accountable boundaries for countries. Another climatologist condemned it as a compromise favoring short-term financial interests over global well-being. Indigenous people, frontline communities and climate justice groups are calling the COP28 agreement unfair and business as usual. Critics lamented the failure of wealthy polluters to address fairness and justice. The global stocktake at the UN talks focused on phasing out or down fossil fuels to combat global warming. However, the final deal failed to recognize this as a historic responsibility of developed countries like the US, UK, Canada and the EU. Disaster response teams are assessing the aftermath of tropical cyclone Jasper in northeastern Australia. There have been no reports of serious injuries or loss of life, but the storm flooded highways, uprooted trees and left 40,000 houses without power. While the cyclone has now weakened, it continues to bring intense rainfall and strong winds. According to Australia's Bureau of Meteorology, Storm Jasper could intensify back to cyclonic strength over the weekend. The environmental activist group Greenpeace Australia has filed a lawsuit against Woodside Energy. The firm is an Australian petroleum exploration and production company. Greenpeace Australia alleges that Woodside deceived the public about its green initiatives. The lawsuit claims that Woodside's reported 11% reduction in direct carbon dioxide emissions is deceptive. This is because the company relies heavily on carbon offsets. Greenpeace says Woodside's carbon dioxide emissions actually rose by 3%. Greenpeace seeks a court ruling against this type of greenwashing and is demanding corrective actions and the prevention of future misleading claims. Torrential rain and strong winds struck Havana and western Cuba, leading to flooded streets and power outages. No deaths have been reported so far. 6 families were evacuated after a building collapsed, though. Cuba's meteorological department attributed the severe weather to a cold front and high humidity. Now for business and tech news. The US Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged in its December meeting yesterday. Meanwhile, the central bank's chief, Jerome Powell, said the historic tightening of monetary policy is likely over, bringing a huge relief to investors and equity markets. This indicates that policymakers see the risks to inflation and employment balancing out. Following the Fed's announcement, Asian equity markets replicated US gains. Asian stocks broadly rallied this morning. Japan's Nikkei gained 0.32%, while Hong Kong's benchmark Hang Seng Index jumped 1.18%. In India, both Sensex and Nifty were up by more than 1%. Official data shows that Britain's economy shrank in October. The gross domestic product, or GDP, fell by 0.3% from September. This has dented analysts' expectations, who had forecast no change in October's GDP. The decline in growth has raised the risk of a recession in the UK. Tesla is recalling over 2 million of its electric vehicles in the US over its autopilot issue. The company has said that its current autopilot controls potentially escalate crash risks. To address these concerns, Tesla will now install new safeguards for its autopilot driver assistance system. Pfizer expects to raise $8 billion in sales revenue in 2024. This is far below the $13 billion that analysts had foreseen. The company says that the drop is mostly due to declining demand for COVID-19 vaccines and treatment. The news of the weak forecasts sent Pfizer's share prices down by 7% yesterday. E-commerce platform Etsy has announced that it will slash 11% of its workforce. This will affect 225 people in the firm. Following the job cuts, the company's headcount will drop to 1,770 people. Etsy, which predominantly sells handcrafted goods, says that its decision comes amid weakening demand. Private equity firm Bain Capital sold a stake worth $448 million in Indian private lender Axis Bank. This is Bain's second sell-down in Axis this year. In June, it offloaded a stake worth $265 million in the company. This comes despite the shares of Axis Bank doubling since Bain first purchased its stake. Global news publisher Axel Springer is partnering with ChatGPT maker OpenAI. Under the deal, when users ask ChatGPT a question, it will deliver summaries of relevant news stories from Axel Springer brands. Axel's brands include Politico, Business Insider, Bild, and Welt. These ChatGPT summaries will also include content from stories that otherwise require subscriptions to read. Major US companies have increased advertising spending on other social media platforms after their exit from X or Twitter last month. According to a new report, Disney and Comcast lifted their spending on Instagram by 40% and about 6% respectively. Meanwhile, Paramount has tripled its spending on Snapchat. The brand suspended their advertising campaigns on X following an alleged rise in hate speech. This includes an instance where owner Elon Musk himself seemed to agree with an anti-Semitic post. Social media firm Discord has explicitly banned dead-naming and misgendering transgender people on its platform. The expanded policy, which was internally adopted in 2022, was made public this month. Misgendering refers to using a pronoun that does not reflect the person's gender identity. Meanwhile, dead-naming refers to calling a transgender or non-binary person by a name they no longer use. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. India will play South Africa in the third and final T20 match today. The game will be played at the Wanderers Stadium in the city of Johannesburg. South Africa leads the series 1-0 after they clinched the second match. The first game was washed out due to rain. England will send a 15-player squad to India for a long red ball tour. All-rounder Ben Stokes has been named captain of the English squad for the Test series. India and England will play 5 Test matches against each other. The first game will be played on the 25th of January in the Indian city of Hyderabad. Indian pacer Mohammad Shami has been nominated for the Arjuna Award. Shami was added to the list for being the highest wicket-taker in the ICC ODI World Cup. The Arjuna Award is considered the second highest sporting honour in India. Meanwhile, badminton duo Satwik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty have been nominated for the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. This year, Rankireddy and Shetty became the first Indian men's duo to rise to the world #1 rank. The Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna is the highest sporting honour in India. Moving to football, the Turkish league is set to resume from next week. The announcement was made by the country's football federation. The league had been suspended indefinitely. This was after the recent pitch brawl where the Ankaragucu club's president entered the pitch and punched the match referee in the face. Fans of Ankaragucu also stormed the pitch and reportedly kicked the referee, who was later hospitalized. In the Champions League, Manchester City beat Serbian club Crvena Zvezda 3-2 in yesterday's match. City went into half-time with a 1-0 lead. Early in the second half, the Sky Blues scored again to extend the lead to 2-0. Then the Serbian club attempted a comeback with 2 goals to equalize the score. Calvin Phillips scored on a penalty to break the tie and seal the win for Manchester City. AC Milan beat Newcastle United 2-1 in yesterday's match. The game was played at Newcastle United's home turf, St James's Park. The Magpies took the lead early on a goal from Joe Linton. In the second half, AC Milan came back with goals from Christian Pulisic and Samuel Chukwueze to seal the win. Belgian club Royal Antwerp stunned Barcelona with a 3-2 win in the Champions League. Antwerp took an early lead with a goal in just the second minute. Spanish giants Barcelona equalized in the 35th. In the second half, Antwerp scored again to take the lead. Barcelona scored a last-minute equalizer in the 90th. Then Antwerp came back with a winning goal 2 minutes into second-half injury time. Barcelona have now lost 2 games in a row. French club Paris Saint-Germain drew 1-1 with German side Borussia Dortmund. The match was scoreless in the first half. Both teams scored a goal early in the second. Despite the draw, both PSG and Dortmund have advanced to the Champions League final 16 round. In basketball, Golden State Warrior forward Draymond Green has been indefinitely suspended by the NBA. This comes after Green punched his Phoenix Suns opponent Yusuf Nurkic in the face. Green was ejected from the match immediately. This was the 18th time that Green was ejected from a match for foul play. Spanish golfer Jon Rahm says he will stay away from public events. This comes after Rahm decided to join the Saudi-backed Live Golf League. The Spaniard says that he has been given strict instructions of not doing public events. Rahm was one of the most vocal opponents of the Live Golf and PGA Tour merger. He had vowed not to join Live Golf and is now facing criticism for the U-turn. In entertainment news, Barbie director Greta Gerwig has been named the jury president for the 2024 Cannes International Film Festival. She will be the head of the international jury that picks Cannes' Palme d'Or Award. The Palme d'Or is the highest prize awarded at the Cannes Film Festival. With this honor, Gerwig will be the first American female director to be the jury president at Cannes. The 77th Cannes Film Festival is scheduled to take place in May next year. Following the billion-dollar box office success of Barbie, the iconic American Girl dolls are preparing for their big-screen debut. According to reports, Mattel Films is planning a movie adaptation for the beloved 18-inch dolls. The film project aims to capitalize on the nostalgic appeal of the cherished American Girl dolls. Actor Nicholas Hoult has been confirmed as Lex Luthor in the upcoming movie Superman Legacy. James Gunn, the CEO of DC Studios, confirmed the news on social media. Gunn revealed that they all went out for a celebratory dinner. He also added that filmmakers are taking a unique approach to the character of Lex Luthor. Actor Timothée Chalamet has described the experience of portraying Willy Wonka in Wonka as both scary and freeing. The 27-year-old actor plays a younger version of author Roald Dahl's chocolate-loving inventor and magician. Wonka has been scheduled for a release in cinemas worldwide this month. Actor Anthony Anderson will host the 75th Annual Primetime Emmy Awards on the 15th of January next year. The ceremony will take place in Los Angeles. Anderson has expressed excitement about hosting the milestone 75th Emmys. Actor Jonathan Majors will not testify in his ongoing trial for alleged assault against his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. Jabari accuses Majors of assaulting her in a car on the 25th of March. The defense rested its case, calling only 3 witnesses on Wednesday. Closing arguments are scheduled for Thursday morning, U.S. time. The trial's outcome may be determined as early as tomorrow. American subscription streaming service Hulu has scrapped the development of a reality show featuring rapper Sean Combs' family. This move comes amidst multiple lawsuits alleging sexual assault against him. The show, titled Diddy Plus 7, was in its early stage of production. The decision follows a lawsuit by Combs' former partner accusing him of rape and assault. Actor Kate Misucci, known for her role on the sitcom Big Bang Theory, is recovering well after her lung cancer surgery. She posted a post-surgery video and referred to it as Sick Talk. The actor revealed that the cancer was caught early and it occurred despite her never having smoked. She expressed her surprise at the diagnosis but remained positive. Actor Dakota Johnson emphasized the importance of sleep in a recent interview. She stated that sleep is her #1 priority in life. Johnson mentioned that she is not functional with less than 10 hours of sleep. She added that she can easily sleep for 14 hours. Comedian and writer Stephen Colbert returned to The Late Show after recovering from corrective surgery for a ruptured appendix. He has resumed hosting duties after 3 weeks. Colbert shared the details of his experience, which had led to blood poisoning and weight loss. He said he wasn't fully aware of the severity of his situation until the pain suddenly became unbearable. That's all for this episode of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.